Welcome to the AmeriCenter North Side and Fight Night number 5, sponsored by Tri-Town Boxing and Seaside Communications. As Blake Finley announces this next bout, I'll tell you, this is Dave LeBlanc along with, Aubrey McLeod. Aubrey, amateur boxing, we talked about this in the last edition, but it doesn't matter what building you go in, whether it's Fredericton, New Brunswick, could be at the Albion Club in New Glasgow and Halifax and Dartmouth. One thing you're going to get when you walk in the building is that sense of excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. And every boxing gym I've ever been to and the gyms I used to run, it's such a family atmosphere. A lot of people are so afraid to go to a gym, especially a combat sport gym, for the first time because they think, you know, a bunch of tough guys, it might be intimidating, I don't know anything, I'm going to look stupid. And it's so much the opposite of that. Every gym I've been to is so welcoming. Every kid in there and every adult in there knows how they felt their first night. So when somebody new walks in the gym, they go out of their way to make them feel welcome. They encourage them. There's no shaming over body types. There's no shaming over skill levels. It's all there's so much encouragement. You know, a little bit of sarcasm and joking around and fun between boxers, but they really, it's such a team atmosphere, and they treat each other like family, and I think that's the same. You'll see a lot of movies that take place in the U.S. and they show such an intimidating atmosphere at boxing gyms, but I've been in gyms in the States too, and it's not like that there either.
Well, they got to sell movies.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, for sure. A couple of 17-year-olds here.
Kobe Peck was from Eskasoni, the Red Tribe Boxing Club, up against Caleb Jessom, Tri-Town, here in the North Side, 17 years old. He has 8 bouts, and I'm not sure about Kobe Peck's history, but
6 bouts he has, and young Caleb Jessom is the reigning Nova Scotia Youth Champion right now. So for having 8 bouts, he's certainly done well so far. This Red Tribe Boxing out of Eskasoni, fairly new club, but I'll tell you, they've come a long way fast. They've got some really good fighters, dedicated coaches, so that should be a good bout.
So I'm not sure what the referee is discussing with the coaching staff, but we're ready to get it rolling. And Peck has the definite height advantage.
For sure, yeah. Yeah. I was speaking with Barry Bernard, the coach from the Eskasoni Club, before the right around weigh-ins today, and talking about how sports-oriented the Eskasoni area has become. That community, they have some of the best hockey players anywhere in Cape Breton and that area. Excellent baseball players. I mean, they really go out of their way to get their kids involved in sports, and it's such a nice thing to see.
Well, I tell you, the Kobe Peck has got he got quite a reach on him.
He sure does, eh? Fast hands by Caleb Jessom too.
Well, at this age, I would imagine, Aubrey, is where if you got that experience, if you got 8 bouts, I mean, even though the other guys got a few less, but still, every bout, as you mentioned earlier, that you're learning something.
Yeah.
Maybe you fought a guy with this kind of reach in one of your earlier bouts, right? So.
Yeah, and these guys, you know, they'll keep going up from here. But from what I'm seeing, some of these kids with only a few bouts, I mean, less than 10, they're still considered novice. So both of these guys are still considered novice, and as well as the other Jessom, maybe they're brothers, I'm not sure, but you just see so much skill so early. It's really exciting to see, because these guys get up to 50, 60, 70 fights, they could be Olympians. And I'm sure every amateur gym in Nova Scotia, that's the goal of every coach, is to get a kid to the Olympics. I mean, you're trying to win provincial titles and national titles, but the Olympics is always that's the pinnacle for amateur boxing. So
Jessom is showing a lot of patience.
seems to do does his work when he's in close, but seems to be a little concerned with that long jab right now.
Now see,
Close
for
round.
me, for that first round, I would give that to Peck.
Yeah,
Because he was more active, he was involved.
Yep. Yeah, Jessom landed a couple good shots on the inside, but I mean, when you're the tall guy, it's so easy for the judges to see those long shots, and he was busy, and he's got a great jab, so. Yeah, I tend to agree. Very close round, but Peck probably pulled it out.
That was a good point you brought up about Eskasoni and sports, because they've got a great fastball program up there. They've got all kinds of fastball teams, right? And if every tournament they have in the island in the summertime, there's two teams from one team, usually two teams from the Sydney area, and everybody else from Eskasoni.
Yeah. I coached bantam hockey this year, and most of our team is made up of kids from Eskasoni, and they do it a lot just because it's a long drive into town, so to help them with rides and things like that. But what a great bunch of kids, strong athletes, some very, very talented hockey players, and lacrosse is another big one in Eskasoni. I don't know if they play in Eskasoni, but I know quite a few of the kids from there come into Sydney for lacrosse.
Good left by Jessom.
If you watch Peck, when he throws that long jab, he snaps it out there, keeps his right hand high, throws the left hand out there, and then he takes a little half step back, making it almost impossible for Jessom to try to land anything as a counter punch off of that jab. So, he throws, steps back. It makes it really hard to counter. It's nice to see a tall kid try to really understand how to use that to his advantage. It's very frustrating as a coach sometimes when you got a kid that's over 6 feet tall and they want to be on the inside. They can make their fights a lot easier on themselves from the outside when they got that kind of reach.
Sometimes it's really, I find, intriguing to watch these guys, because some of them you can actually see their game plan.
Yeah.
Right, and to me that shows a lot of boxing intelligence, which I think from what I've read about the game, and that boxing intelligence in a lot of cases will win you a match.
Absolutely, and it's, you have coaches in the corner between rounds giving you instructions, but you got a lot of time. Jessom landed two big right hands there. Peck's getting the standing 8. Jessom seems to be carrying this round for the most part anyway. The early part, Peck was getting that jab on him, but Jessom's getting closer. And that when you start to get a little tired, it's hard to keep them strong inside guys off you. It's getting interesting here now.
Peck's still using that jab to keep Jessom away, but
yeah. Another close round. I think Jessom might have pulled that one out, especially with the standing 8. But when Peck's using that jab, he's hard to get close to.
From a scoring point of view, is that another element as well?
Not in the amateurs. You don't get extra points for it, but
no. What I'm thinking of is each round. So you go by individual increments. Like you say, you score the first round.
Yeah.
If you won that first round, you get to score in the second round and the third round. Is there not an overall scoring? You still do round by round.
It's still round by round. Yeah. The now in the old computer system that was taken away about 4 or 5 years ago, it was cumulative, and you would get the scores between rounds. So or at least the coach would. You try to, whoever's bringing the scores would generally try to hide them from the boxer, because some coaches want their kids to know the score, some don't. But it's nice having. I know at the Olympics they put it right up on the screen as the points are being scored. So if it was one year in the Olympics, they actually showed it in the arena so that the boxers and coaches would know. But generally on the television, they would show the scores, and there'd be all kinds of things going on with somebody at ringside would have a cell phone, somebody watching the telecast on a TV would be telling them the scores, and they'd be yelling it to the coaches in the corner. Oh, a little talking going on from Peck. The ref had to tell him to be quiet. You see that a lot in the pros. You'll see guys talking to each other. In the amateurs, it's specifically against the rules that you're not allowed to do it.
Trash talk. Yeah. Well, I think
So
it's going to be a...
Jessum's a little high in his stance there. That's one mistake a lot of guys make when they're in with a tall guy, is they try to stand tall themselves, and you take away your power because you're not sitting down in your punches as well. You see, when he gets close, he'll bend his knees and get down, but when he's going forward, he's a little high and starts to reach. That makes it...
He's trying to set up for that.
Yeah, he's looking to land that big
haymaker.
right hand again, yeah. So, sometimes you get a little too focused on trying to land that big shot. Good work on the inside there now, though. He seems to
Carrying the
have
fight.
calmed down a bit. Yeah, he's carrying this round again. When Peck, look, nice shot by Peck. He tried the same one again, that 1-2 with the overhand right instead of the straight right, and
Peck's starting to
turned
look
his
tired.
back. That's not good.
He's starting to look tired.
Yeah,
I mean, I
he
know
is
it's only
looking-
third round, but
Yeah.
the 3 rounds, excuse me. But
Well, the emotional side of boxing can tire you out more than the physical side sometimes. So, you know, guys will tend to, when they're starting to overthink, they'll hold their breath too much and not breathe as freely and not let that full breath of air out so they get a full breath of air in. And I think the ref's just giving him a rest here. I don't believe he was hurt, but he's definitely tired.
he's sucking wind right now.
Yeah. Oh, corner throw in the towel.
Yeah, he was tired.
Yeah.
You don't want a guy to get hurt, eh?
Yeah, and that, you know, that's a lesson he'll carry forward to his next bout. I'm sure he'll be in a little better shape next time, or at least try to. Maybe he's in great shape. Maybe he just wasn't breathing correctly in the ring. But all mistakes that he'll learn from him going forward.
Well, it was an interesting match, you know.
It was, and you know, young Jessam did some good things and made some mistakes. And when he watches the video of this afterwards, I'm sure the coaches will go over, you know, all of the highlights of things he done really well, and try to pick up on a few things to correct. But you know, both young guys, both less than 10 bouts each, so they're really they're learning. And the thing about once in the amateurs, once you get over 10 bouts, technically you could go to nationals and fight a guy with 200 fights. So the coaches try to cram as much information in there early as they can.
Again,
Go ahead.
Lennox Lewis
Yeah.
fought here in Cape. Well, he didn't fight here. There was no one to fight him.
I met him at ringside in a fight in Toronto a couple of years ago. Nice gentleman.
So Alvin Snow's presented the. We'll go back to the Lennox Lewis story in a minute, but be interesting to see that. Well, it's been stopped anyway, so.
Number 3, a referee stops the contest. And to your winner, from the red corner, Caleb Jessam.
So Caleb Jessam, referee stops contest, and early on, Peck looked like he was going to get the long reach.
Yeah, you know, he was fighting very technically early, getting that jab, using that reach really, really well, using his footwork really well. So there's really good tools there with Peck. You know, just maybe some work on his breathing and getting in better shape. It's this time of year, the kids are a little harder to get in the gym when the weather starts getting nice. So. And because boxing is a 12 month of the year sport, kids they don't get time off, but they tend to slow down a little bit in the summertime, just do other things. And it's nice for them to get that break.
This next match has Seamus Higgins from Member 2 in the blue corner up against Lucas Hammond from Ring 73. He's in the red corner. These are 140-pound boxers again. And as we saw earlier tonight, once we get up there and weight, Aubrey, it seems that and for a lot of these guys, one guy it's his second bout and the other guy is his second bout as well. So it won't be the same experience factor as we saw when Peter Jessam was fighting earlier tonight.
No, it won't, but you know, I've been impressed so far with some of these kids with very little experience, how polished they look. It's nice to see. It just, you know, it tells you that the coaches are really paying attention at the gym and making sure they're really ready to get in there for their first bout. I know years back, you know, that you'd see a lot of kids that they would get out for their first fight or even their first couple and not really be ready to get there. So it's nice to see that the coaches are making sure that they're there and they're capable and they have at least a 50% chance of winning.
Now, if there are kids that want to fight, imagine a kid wants to. A lot of kids would want to be getting in the ring, right, to get to the belt. But you Brady try have to hold them back until they're ready?
Some kids, it depends. Some kids are really cautious themselves, and they don't want to fight. You know, the funny thing is I trained a lot of girls and young boys over the years, and it's a completely different dynamic with both. They both can have equal success. As a matter of fact, some of the girls I trained had more success than a lot of the boys. But a lot of the guys, especially when the gym has girls in it, are more concerned about how they look learning something. They want to learn it, but they want to look cool doing it.
Yeah.
Where girls, they want to learn it and they want to learn it right, and they could care less how they look doing it. So, you know, a lot of boys are more concerned about what their friends are going to say or how they're going to look in their first bout, and some kids just want to get out there and tear it up. So it's there's a mix there, but I find generally most girls are they think about it. They're a lot more cerebral about the sport, and they want to learn more about it before they get out there in the competitive side of things. But it's like I said, it's a real treat to see kids that are really ready to be in there, and everything we've seen tonight, these kids have been. So good on the coaches.
That's hopefully the one to $1,000.
Now Blake Finley, the announcer, will bring our next boxers into the ring. Again, this is Fight Night number 5, sponsored by Seaside Communications and Tri-Town Boxing. This is Dave LeBlanc along with Aubrey McLeod.
Bring the box ring for the red corner, Lucas Hanna.
All right.
Looks like we got another tall kid against a little shorter kid there. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just looking at it from a different angle. Nah, he's a pretty tall kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, our eighth bout of the evening is in the 140.
One thing you do notice with these kids when they're coming in the ring is that they seem to be very polite.
Yeah.
I know it seems kind of like an oxymoron, boxing and being polite.
Well, it seems to be the case, so more so than not. I mean, these kids, they're confident because of the sport they're in. Most coaches don't put up with poor sportsmanship of any kind, so they're you know, probably some good parenting in there too, for sure. But coaches don't allow them to act any other way, and there's always other boxers that set a good example for sportsmanship and politeness. So it really is a gentleman's sport.
Like they're even when they're interacting with the referee, they're very polite to the referee, especially and respectful to their opponents.
Yep. Yeah, it's boxing carries sometimes over the years has carried a reputation because you've seen things like some of the stuff Mike Tyson pulled and some other guys, Ricardo Mayorga and guys like that disrespected the sport, disrespected their opponents sometimes, and disrespected themselves. But for the most part, even in the pros, these guys, you respect the guy that's across the ring from you because you know how hard it was for you to get in the ring and take that. So you know that guy went through the same emotions.
Again, in the red corner, it's blue corner tonight. It's Seamus Higgins and Lucas Hammonds in the red corner. Ring 73. Seamus Higgins from member 2. Again, 140-pound class. For both of these guys, it's their second bout.
Young Hammond's got that long reach, so and even just like in the last bout, or the bout before last, the tall kid, if he's moving his feet too, he's awful hard to get close to. Hung out a little too long in the pocket there. Geez, both guys traded some hard shots that time.
Those guys just feeling themselves out a little bit.
Yeah. Young Seamus is moving his head to try to get that range and slide in and do some work on the inside. So, he looks like he knew he was going to be fighting a taller kid and knew what he would have to do.
Again, Lucas Hammond from Ring 73. A boxing club that really's got a great reputation. I mean, we think it's been at it so long.
Yeah,
and
been around a long time.
They had some great coaches that I know of anyway, with Greg Martin
Yeah.
and Henry Rideout, and Blair Boone was so heavily involved in that and ended up refereeing internationally.
Yeah, I mean, Cape Breton has got so many good boxing clubs. Every club that I've been to and every club that I know is the guys and girls that are coaching. They're there for the right reasons. They're there for the kids. Not a lot of ego at any of them. They're humble, down to earth kids and humble, down to earth coaches, and they come to fight. They come to fight hard and be true sportsmen.
I'd be remiss if we were talking about Ring 73. I mentioned a few people, but I didn't mention the late Jimmy McGuinness.
Yeah.
I know Jimmy was very involved from the outset with Ring 73 in Glace Bay when I think they were boxing out of one of the old buildings. That was number 20 Calgary.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's where it started. I could be wrong. But then they moved to the new building and they did a lot of fundraising, and it's
yeah, and it's nice that they have their own building that's theirs there, so you don't have to worry about renting somewhere and getting evicted at some point because they want to repurpose the building.
Again,
although it takes some fundraising and things like that because you're paying all the utilities and you're paying the taxes and all that stuff, but when you got your own spot, you're not getting kicked out.
Lucas Hammond in the red, Seamus Higgins from member 2 in the blue.
Seamus is a sneaky reach. He's a shorter kid, but he's getting that jab in there sometimes, and
a couple of good rights.
That overhand right's landing for him pretty good too. It's a really even match.
I'm impressed with Higgins' focus in terms of he's putting up with that reach, but he's hanging in there, and he's got a couple of good shots in.
Yeah, he knows he's got to move his head, and he knows he's got to throw as soon as he gets in close enough to do it. So it's tiring trying to get to the inside all the time. So hopefully he's got the gas to keep getting there.
What do you tell your guy during the week in amateur boxing? He's getting ready for a bout tonight, and he's been in the gym. You're there all week and you're preparing. But what are you telling him the days prior to that? Are you mentally preparing for the fight?
Yeah, it depends if it's their first or second or third fight. You really have to go through the all of the basics of it. Win, lose, or draw. It doesn't make any difference. It's all about experience. You try to help with their confidence and when they're sparring, and you really highlight the things they do well in sparring and try to stay away from any kind of negative discussion whatsoever when they're getting ready for a fight. You save the lessons that you have to highlight the mistakes every now and then for times when there are ways out from a fight. I like to when I'm working with a kid, I like to work on what they already do well. A lot of coaches or people would think sometimes that you spend all your time on the things that you're not that good at, but it's the things you're good at that's going to win the fight for you. So you really got to make sure that those tools are sharp too. Confidence is key. I mean, if you're really boosting a kid's confidence through the week or the weeks before the fight, at least they've got that when they step in the ring. You're really not going to take skills that you learned that week into the ring with you. You can take game plan stuff and you can take tactics in, but you're not going to have the muscle memory for new skills taught, in the last couple of weeks before your fight. So I try to stay away from the last couple of weeks teaching new skills because kids feel pressure to try to take that in the ring, and it's just not going to be there once you're tired, hearing the crowd, get hit a couple times. You're depending on muscle memory and instinct at that point. So I try to stay away from new skills just before a fight and highlight confidence and what they're doing well. And
Well, I think this one here has been pretty even.
I think so
Aubrey.
too. Yeah, this can go either way for sure.
I don't want to jinx him, but it seems to me that Higgins from the midway point of the second round and into here, he's been boxing with a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a little different style for an amateur. You see that pull back, lean back style a little bit. You see that more in the pros than you do in the amateurs, but he's really trying to move his head a lot, trying to get away of those longer arms of young Hammond. But he does good work when he's throwing. And Hammond's got such great reach and such good punches when he lets him go, but he seems to be looking to get close, and he's the taller guy. The refs are really just having a look at him here at this point because he sees he's not throwing any punches. So be nice to see him come out and start letting his hands go, because this is a winnable fight. It's very close.
Yeah, it appears now he seems to be picking it up a little bit, but
yeah. I think he gets frustrated when he's missing those shots from the head movement, and you start taking tools away from guys by making them miss or countering what they're throwing. They, especially when they're young like this, they spend a lot of time trying to figure out what tool to pull out the toolbox next instead of just letting their hands go. So that you get into those periods where not a lot of activity, and sometimes it's just overthinking.
Lucas Hammond in the red, Seamus Higgins in the blue. Another standing
I'm not sure
eight
I
count.
agree with that standing eight, because I don't think he was landing on the gloves mostly, but no, he's going to stop the fight. That's it was a close fight up until that last round. Young Seamus Higgins really was taking over at that point, but it would have been nice to see. Lucas be able to finish that out, but
You could see Lucas's body language.
yeah,
he
lost confidence somewhere in the bout.
Well, I'm sure these guys will meet again.
Yeah, and you know, he's got one of the best coaches out there for instilling confidence in kids, with Kyle Cameron McLean. Kyle will get him pumped up and feeling good about himself in no time, and because kid's got some skills. He was looking good early in the fight. Probably, or at least possibly, won the first round. The second round, I thought Higgins most likely would have gotten it, but it was a close fight, and he'll learn from this, and I'm sure Kyle will get his confidence back up in no time.
Presentations for the 8th bout of the evening on Heritage Construction, Ted Dawson.
Last night, I emceed the Sports Heritage Awards dinner in Sydney, and Carol Morgan was inducted into the Sports Heritage Hall of Fame. Now, he's already been in the Nova Scotia Hall, but there was a name from the 70s who was he fought in the Olympics in Munich, I believe, and
Nice.
so it's always great to see those guys as they get older and to be honored.
They always have some gems. They always have some pretty good gems of advice for you too. I know Rudy Pleshy around here. Rudy, a famous coach, cut man. He hung around and knew like Marciano and it's just tons of guys. He worked cuts. He was one of the foremost cut men in North America for a lot of years. And Rudy comes around the Sydney Boxing Club quite a bit. Works with young Ryan Rosicki and gives him a lot of advice and isn't afraid to give advice to a lot of people. I was there with my pro fighter, Brandon Brewer, and we were getting some rounds in with Ryan and Kyle Clark. And Rudy sat down with me, and we talked boxing for probably an hour after the sparring was done. And the next night that I saw him, he came with a big package of excerpts from the book he wrote about boxing, and other medical stuff. Just some gems from the old days that, most sports, everybody says, nowadays they do it better, but you can't forget your past either. Like those guys in the early 40s, 50s, 60s, they knew a lot of things about fighting that nowadays we forget about because we're so focused on nutrition and things like that. So
we've been doing this for 6 years now, so
there's a presentation going on in the ring. We'll see if we can pick it up.
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into these events, but beyond all that, there's a lot of support that makes this happen. And all you guys are a big part of that support. Give yourself a round of applause. We have two major sponsors this year. Scotiabank is one of our big major sponsors.
Yep.
Over there.
It's Alden McKinnon making a presentation to the people that are involved in staging this event each and every year.
This Tri-Town Club's fairly new too. I think it's in its 6th or 7th year, and just done tremendous work. Great group of coaches.
This whole family came here and helped us wait tables, set up the ring, and do a whole bunch of stuff last night. So thanks again, guys.
And when you don't see Alton at the boxing club or at the events, he's out somewhere playing guitar and singing songs locally. Really talented artist.
Kansas City several times.
Well, they say if you want something done, give it to a busy man. So
Yeah, true.
Everything from sitting in front of the government store and getting some cash to other people writing big checks. So we appreciate that, and thank you very much once again. So one quick thing so I can get back to the boxing. Where's Logan at? Logan, get out of that spotlight. Logan's birthday was yesterday. Logan just turned 13 years old. Happy birthday, Logan. And we got one more birthday in the house today. It's her birthday today. It's Brooklyn Miles. And I'm going to sing happy birthday. Can everybody sing with me? Happy birthday to you.
I'm not going to sing, Dave, if that's all right.
That's okay. Well, you won't see that at Caesar's Palace.
I know you won't.
Okay, the next match coming up here will be Mason McKeegan from the Tri-Town Boxing Club here on the north side, and Isaiah Haya from New Brunswick.
That's a different last name. I haven't heard that one before.
And Mason McKeegan, novice world champion at the Ringside World Championships in Kansas City in 2017.
Nice. And that's just a tremendous tournament. There's hundreds and hundreds of fighters come there from all over North America. They canceled it last year, but this year. But I think they're going to pick it up again next year. Just a tremendous tournament. All age groups. Alden McKinnon had his first fight at age 40 there.
Kidding?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help us bring the boxer in for the red corner, Mason McKeegan.
These kids are fighting at 175 pounds. They're pretty strong-looking young fellows.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next bout is in the 175 pound.
Yes, we're getting a little heavier, 175 pounds.
2 minutes per round.
Would that be what, light middleweight?
That in
175?
that would be super middleweight.
Super middleweight? Yeah.
Or in the amateurs, they changed the weight classes, so the names have changed. In the pros, it's light heavyweight, but the amateurs have deleted some weight classes over the years, and they added some back, and they don't really correspond that well with the names in the pros anymore. So. And then the UFC made their own weight classes, which confuses the heck out of everybody. So.
I was always a fan of the middleweight. I like the middleweight class. They're quick, they move well in the ring.
Yeah, and they still have power because they're still big enough to be really strong guys. So.
Except for Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes and a few guys, but most heavyweights I found were plodding. where the
Yeah.
middleweights are so quick. And
Yeah.
they move well in the ring, and they're very smart.
It seems the heavyweights in the pros now have gotten so big that they should almost make two, a heavyweight and a super heavyweight division, because the size differential can be 100 pounds sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, again in the red corner is Mason McKeegan from the Tri-Town Club. Isaiah Haya from New Brunswick in the blue corner. Again, it's a 175-pound class.
You start throwing more punches than the little guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
These guys are mean in business. They want to get a lot done in a short period of
Yeah.
time. Again, McKeegan in the red. St. John Boxer in the blue. Isaiah Haya.
It says Haya's only got 2 bouts. He's a pretty slick kid for 2 bouts. McKeegan looks like he's got some power on those shots, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks compact.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people talk about reach and how, it's such a big advantage, but sometimes, if you're a little shorter and a little more compact, you can use that as an advantage. It's all
Yeah,
about...
if you get close enough, I know, and you're
Yeah.
the boxing guy, but it seems to me you can do a lot of work if you get a good short one in.
Yeah,
Because you're hip. But it's all about the legs, isn't it?
it is. The footwork is so key, especially for guys on the inside. A lot of inside guys you see, they're standing flat-footed, squared up to the guy in front of them, and they have a hard time getting much work done. But if a shorter guy can step to the side and use his angles on the inside while still staying close, he frees up one hand at a time, right in the wheelhouse, right down the middle. So if you step over to the right, you got your left hand can come right up through the zone, right through the train tracks, or you can slide over to your left and get that right hand up through there too. So the footwork is important for everybody, not just the taller guys.
In that, it seemed to me in that first round, New Brunswick boxer Haya, he was the busier of the two.
Yeah.
The other guy seemed to be, bouncing around a little bit or being defensive. But now I'd like to see what happens in the second round. Was McKeegan, because of experience, feeling the other guy out?
And it's quite possible. And he looked like he was loading up on some of them shots too, and maybe trying to either change the complexion of the fight with some power or stop the kid. But I think after this round he knows that this kid can take a shot, so he's got to get back to boxing.
Seconds out for round number 2.
As the fight goes on, the footwork slows down a little bit too, so you tend to see more shots land.
So McKeegan throwing punches right from the get-go.
Seemed to be missing much of them. He's a little too active. Nice right hand though. A little too active with the in and out for a guy that's shorter. He shouldn't be looking to get out quite so much. Do his work while he's closer.
Well, it's
A double jab right hand landed for him there a minute ago or a second ago. See, the 1-2s for McKeegan aren't landing because he just the reach difference, and the other kid's got pretty good head movement and pulling back. But if you double and triple up that jab and move your feet a little bit forward with each one, you can get there. And when he does that, when he throws that double jab, he's landing his right hand.
Well, it's obvious that the high is not being cheated here. He's throwing leather.
Whoa! Nice left hook. Haya's throwing a lot of those right uppercuts and short right hands, but he was doing better work with his jab and his left hook earlier. I'd like to see him get back to that.
Is McKeegan playing with a little bit of fire there when he's doing that with the head, and he seems to be, but maybe he's going to walk into one.
Yeah, and he just might. He just took 2 or 3 good ones. Sometimes you got to be careful with head movement. I mean, you got to move your head, but you got to be able to see your opponent at all times too. And he dips a little bit low sometimes, and if you can only see your opponent's feet, you might know where he's at, but you don't know what his hands are doing. Close round.
This is going to be a difficult one to pick him.
It sure is. McKeegan got the first part of that round, but I think Haya, dominated the second half of the round. So
it's great to see kids coming from other provinces too. I know they've had those matches where they bring in boxing groups from Ireland or from other parts of the country, and I think it's great for all those involved, right? Especially the younger guys, because it's a great learning experience for them.
Yeah, and the kids from the maritime provinces, when they go to nationals, they all stick together. I brought fighters to 9 different nationals over the years, and every time the kids from PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland are always hanging out together. They get to know each other at these club shows, and they fight each other often and get to know the whole teams from the other provinces. When you go to nationals, Ontario and Quebec got the big voices as far as the numbers of people there and the cheering, but when the maritime kids are boxing, if it's a Nova Scotia kid, it's not just Team Nova Scotia cheering for him. He's got the whole Maritimes behind him, he or she.
This is the 3rd round. Mason McKeegan from Tri-Town Boxing Club in the red corner. Isaiah Haya from New Brunswick in the blue corner. Whatever the decision is in this one, if it doesn't get stopped before that, it's going to be close.
Yeah, for sure. Tough one to judge. It might be a little more decisive if one of them tires a little bit more here in the 3rd round, but neither one seems to be in too bad a shape right now. Ooh.
As I talked earlier, Aubrey, about volume, I think in terms of volume, I would give it to Haya.
Yeah.
But
yeah, right now the first round it seemed like McKeegan was the busier of the two, but Haya's throwing more now. He keeps trying to land that right hand lead. I don't know that he's landed one yet. He's got to work behind that jab a lot more. If he doubles up that jab, even throws the 1-2, he's a little taller, he's got the reach, he might land the 1-2, but you gotta take that line of sight away. If your opponent can see your right hand from a mile away, and it's the backhand, so they get a little more time to see it too. So you got to blind him with that jab a little bit, keep that in their face.
He has a nice jab.
Yeah, for sure.
Haya. Well, they got a few seconds left. This one's going to go to the scorecard. It was a good match and lots of action.
Yeah.
I think that everyone is going to be interested to see what happens here.
This has been a well-matched card so far. The guys doing the matchmaking have done a good job. It's nice to see too. I mean, the local kids the Tri-Town kids seem to have won more than they lost. But I mean, the matches have been all very close. They didn't try to set these guys up to win easy fights. They wanted good competitive matches. Better for the kids. It's better for the fans. So nice to see.
Oh yeah, no one wants to come here and watch a layover by anybody.
No.
Because first of all, the fans feel sorry for the guy who's getting pummeled, and then they see it for what it is if it's set up like that, right? And
exactly. Yeah.
most of the guys that come to these are fairly knowledgeable about the game in terms of they come to a lot of these things.
Yeah. Now at the amateur shows, you get a lot of parents and relatives, but I mean, they go to all the shows. And a lot of them come to the gym and watch the kids spar and watch them train, and they learn a lot about boxing. Become pretty knowledgeable fans, that's for sure.
Well, I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen here. I hope you people at home are enjoying this amateur boxing from...
Judges look like they're having a hard time doing the math. That usually indicates a close fight.
Again, this is Dave LeBlanc along with Aubrey McLeod. And fight night number 5. Blake Finley will let us know what the decision is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the official announcement for our non-bout of the evening. Once again, for the judges' scorecards, and to your by split decision, from the red corner.
Well, that must have been a tough decision because I would have given it. It looked to me like the Haya had a little more
finished
traffic.
Stronger, I think, for sure. He definitely finished stronger. I thought McKeegan won the first round. Second round was a toss-up, and I thought Haya won the third round. But it's a tough job down there judging. So I wouldn't trade places with him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Blake Finley. He's been doing just about every show around the Maritimes the last couple of years. He's been working. He's done shows for us in New Brunswick. He's done shows here in pro shows in Center 200. Does a lot of the amateur shows. Been a busy guy.
And he's doing a good job.
Yep, for sure. Always does.
From the blue corner.
Next match, we have Curtis White from Member 2 against Ryan Collier from the north side here.
So Curtis is a dentist now. Took almost a 10-year break from boxing, and he's back. And such an exciting fighter. Curtis has got close to 100 fights. Such an exciting fighter when he was a kid. He's a shorter guy, not a lot of reach, but I'm telling you, he comes to fight every time. Loves to go to the body.
Ryan Collier, now this is his 15th bout.
Yeah, Ryan, just so talented for such an experience difference. Very, very skilled fighter. Very skilled fighter. It's going to be a good fight. We'll see what Curtis, how much ring rust there is there with Curtis. He definitely has the experience advantage, but Ryan's got the reach and the activity, recent activity advantage as well. So this should be a good one.
Ryan was a Brandon Cup gold medalist. Was a champion. Doesn't say what year, but
yeah, Brampton Cup gold medal. Brampton Cup is a tremendous tournament in Ontario. I've been to a bunch of them, and it's not just fighters from all over Ontario. There's a ton of fighters from Quebec, Maritimes. Big tournament, usually 2 or 3 rings going nonstop for 4 days, all day and all night. Great place to gain experience, and if you win a gold medal at the Brampton Cup, you earned it. My son won a gold medal at Brampton Cup, and it was such a fun tournament, so well organized.
So Curtis White not only had a lot of fights, Aubrey, but he's done well at them.
Oh yeah,
multiple-time
for sure.
provincial champion. Was on the Canadian national B team, so as they say, he was no piker.
No, not for sure. Fought Francophone games, Canada games. Went to Africa with Team Canada, so definitely a ton of really good experience there. Tremendous sportsmanship. Curtis is he's just a nice young fella.
So Curtis in the blue corner, Ryan Collier in the red corner.
And if anybody's teeth gets damaged, he can fix them up for him tonight.
Oh yeah.
Good left hand
Yeah.
by Curtis White.
You see Collier trying to use that reach a little bit. That's Curtis's wheelhouse, is right on the inside. He loves to be there.
When the players get a little older, from a physiological point of view, do they have? Is there any advantage or disadvantage?
I think there's both. There's some advantage in the experience and in the calmness, and you can see Curtis is very relaxed in there, even though he hasn't been in the ring in 10 years. They tend to be able to draw on their experiences a little bit more than the younger guys, because the younger guys have so much more adrenaline and emotion going on in the ring. Just a slip, no knockdown. But Curtis understands that he's got to, that's why he's got his guard so far out in front. He understands that he's got to try to walk down Ryan and get there. So that forward guard kind of gives a little bit of an illusion of range and might mess with Collier's range a little bit.
I imagine if he's been 10 years since he fought, he must have been fighting with, if he was in the Sydney club, with the ref Brad Ross.
Yeah, I think he boxed for Brad, yeah. I had a boxer fought Curtis in Sydney in the Center 200 parking lot. It was plus 33 degrees outside. It was the hottest tournament I think I've ever been at. Curtis won the fight against my fellow was a lot less experienced and younger, but than Curtis, but a strong fighter. He was a national champion at the time, and Curtis beat him by split decision.
33s, that was just tough to make it through it.
Yeah, Collier's landing some good body shots, and then changing elevations, going up and down. The thing as you get older, you're just as strong as you ever were, and a lot of guys are still just as fast, but the reflexes to be able to react to some of them punches coming tends to slow down first before anything else does. I don't think Curtis is at that age yet, but 10 years since he's been in there, he's probably looking for shots just like that left hook he just landed and waiting a little bit too long to get him off.
I think tonight that the home team, the Tri-Town team, has acquitted themselves quite nicely. We still have a couple more bouts to go, but still.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great to see that the local team is having some success.
And when it's your own show, you're so much more focused in the gym. Your coaches are focused on being, helping you put on a good performance at home. Kids tend to, they'll work so much harder when they're fighting in front of all their friends and family, and to try to get ready for it, because the last thing you want to do is not feel like you put on a good performance in your hometown. So, it gives you a bit of an advantage right there. Just the difference in intensity, knowing it's your hometown fight.
Round number 2 coming up between Ryan Collier from the North Side Tri-Town Boxing Club and Curtis White from Member 2, the 32-year-old dentist. Curtis White is in the blue.
Curtis landing some sneaky shots in between the guard of Collier every now and then. Just the volume difference might make the difference on the scorecards. Curtis has to work while he's in there. There he's starting to now.
I mean, it's one stat when they have the pros on television that is one of those stats that's really an eye-opener when they say so-and-so threw 300 punches, but he only landed 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see, guys, those stats help you see what tools you're taking away from your opponent too. You look at guys like Vasily Lomachenko. He could be in there with a volume puncher, and at the end of the fight, the volume puncher will have usually only thrown about a third of what they normally throw, and he just takes those skills away with his tremendous footwork and movement and counter punching. If you get countered with a right hand every time you throw your jab, you stop throwing your jab. Well, and that's when you become easier to counter.
Right now, I think this is pretty close from a points point of view.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see a lot between each one.
Curtis Curtis backing him up a lot. He's not
Yeah.
throwing as many punches, but he's sneaking those right hands down the middle. He's landing some good body shots, and that left hook. Close fight, very close fight.
I mean, if I was scoring it, I would put him as the aggressor. Right now, Curtis White.
He's winning this round, I think. The older you get to, the slower you tend to start, so it's not surprising to see Curtis doing so well here in the third.
We're coming down to the end of this one, and again, it's going to be one that's going to go to the scorecard.
Two guys with good skills. You know, when Ryan's doing his thing, and using his reach and angles, he's winning the exchanges. When Curtis gets to work on the inside and counter a lot from the inside, he's winning the exchanges just like that.
Couple of seconds left.
Nice fight. Definitely Curtis's third round, I think. So this one going to fourth.
Oh, it's only round number 3 coming up.
Oh,
But I lost a round.
they've thrown so many punches, we
Yeah.
lost count of the rounds. Well, Curtis took over in that second round. If he's got the conditioning and the steam to keep heading in that direction, he should be able to pull out a decision here. I thought Collier won the first round, but I thought Curtis pulled out the second one, so we'll see. It could be a matter of who's got the gas.
I think there's a lot to be said about. We had talked about the Tri-Town Boxing Club earlier, but overall in the entire island of Cape Breton, really since Ring 73 started, and Tommy Gordon did a great job, and he was here on the north side, and so a lot of great people that have involved in just in amateur boxing. To take it away from I'm not taking anything away from the pros or anything else, but the amateur guys, because it's those guys you don't get paid for. It's for the love of the game, and
Exactly. The clubs are like Member Two's got a great club. They got a lot of kids in the gym all the time, so they're doing really, really good things. Sydney Club just reopened this year after Brad left. Ryan Rosicki and his dad reopened that. They're starting to get quite a few more kids in the gym and doing well. I think Dalton, what's his name? A new gym opened anyway just recently. I don't think they have a lot of kids out at the fights yet, but that's out off of George Street on the Myra Road.
but it takes time.
Yeah, it does. It usually takes 10 or months or a year before you get your first kids in for their first bouts.
But it is a lot of commitment by a lot of individuals.
Oh my goodness.
Who never see the inside of a ring.
Yeah.
So right now it's Curtis White and Ryan Collier in the middle of the squared circle.
Curtis threw a bit of a forearm there after he missed that right hand. That's Curtis's bread and butter right there, them body shots and uppercuts. Not a lot of rust there. He's looking pretty good.
Both these fighters have been throwing body shots.
Yep.
Oh, good left hook by Curtis after missing with the right.
Ooh.
Again, this is going to be an interesting one to call.
It is, because when they're at range, young Collier seems to be the better guy, but Curtis tends to start backing him up and gets in close and does better. Some of them uppercuts are landing really well. The thing about an uppercut, it jars your head up so much that it's so easy for the judges to see that it landed. Just like that one.
What impresses me about White when he's stepping out of when he's stepping back, he throws that short left one.
Yeah.
That. 2 seconds left. Both of them emptying the tank.
Nice fight. Nice fight. That's a tough one. Curtis might have the slight advantage. He did the better work on the inside, and probably more of the fight was spent on the inside. But Collier fought a tremendous fight too with it. This one's a tough one to call.
Well, they're going to have their hands full.
Yeah.
Coming up after this one, the match between Josh Prince from the Tri-Town Boxing Club and Cedric Bellany from Quebec.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh, don't want to get away from this fight, but Josh Prince is just a tremendous story. He came in the gym a few years back at Tri-Town when they first opened, looking to lose some weight because he was overweight and he was being bullied a little bit for it and made fun of. And he's come a long way. That kid he's ripped, lean, and mean, and just such a nice kid and a tremendous boxer.
I think he has fought internationally as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
World Youth Championships.
Yeah.
He silver medalist, or ringside World Championship. Yeah. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lou on the ring to make the presentation. John D. Steele.
It's going to be interesting to see what the
Kansas
results
City,
of this.
USA, London, England. Yeah.
Let's give these gentlemen a nice round of applause.
Well deserved there, that round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the official results for our 10th bout of the evening, we go to the judges' scorecards. And to your order by split decision. From the blue corner,
Yeah, I thought he had the slight edge.
So Curtis White picks up the win.
Nice comeback for
He
Curtis.
was active through the whole fight.
He didn't seem to sit
Yeah.
back at all.
He was. He's fighting in a lot heavier weight class than when he used to fight when he was a kid. But I mean, a lot of muscle there, and he looks in good shape. So good for him. That's a great way to come back. You know, a 10-year layoff from the ring. I'm sure he's not going to have a ton more fights, but Curtis is always a guy that enjoyed fighting so much. When he was a kid, he'd come out of the ring smiling every time. So I'm sure this was a good thrill for him.
I think it'd be a great experience if you're like, it doesn't matter how old you are, you know, if you're that's what you like to do and it's a passion for you.
Yeah.
And still 32 is not old.
No, it's not.
No.
And Curtis is a clean living guy too. Like he always takes care of himself. So he got a few more years yet before he's over the hill. Those ringside World Championships in Kansas City, they have age groups right up into their 60s. I've heard of guys in their 70s fighting there even. I mean, they'll match them against somebody else in their 70s, but it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fighters of all experience levels, all age groups.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you stay in shape, it's only a number.
That's a fact. Now look at what George Foreman, Bernard Hopkins, some of those guys have done.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your co-main event of the evening, proudly brought to you by Scotiabank. It's
Two main events, so Josh Prince is fighting Cedric Bellonnet from Quebec. And the last bout of the evening will be Matt McDonald from the Tri-Town Boxing Club up against Matt Ross from the Waterford. So I think the last two bouts especially are going to be intriguing.
And these four fighters in these last two bouts are all world-class guys. They're all international fighters, or international class anyway.
Boxing champion, ladies and gentlemen, from Quebec, Canada,
Cedric fought at Nationals last year, 2017, the same Nationals that Josh fought at. They didn't get to fight each other. They were in separate weight categories at that time, but should be good. If you're a Quebec boxer that makes it to Nationals, you got there because you earned your way there. There's so many fighters in Quebec that to become the provincial champion and get to Nationals, you got to be pretty special. So I expect a really good fight here.
Boxing championships in Kansas City. He has competed in competitions internationally, both in Kansas City, USA, and London, England.
He fought in the last year in the fight night number 4, right? So I remember he was Josh Prince, nice boxer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, very slick. The pro fighter I trained, Brandon Brewer, 22-0. That's we come down here to spar with a few times. That's who we went after to spar with, was Josh Prince, because he's such a polished fighter. Gave Brandon really good rounds. Both learned a lot from each other.
I think there's an expectation in the crowd of this fight as well. You can kind of sense it. They know that the last two are going to be pretty special.
Yeah, I think most people here know Josh's story, how he started in the fight game, and as soon as you talk to him, you get to know him. You see what a nice kid he is. He'll have a lot of fans rooting for him, that's for sure.
We come to the center of the ring. Prince in the red, Bellonnet from Quebec in the blue. Even from the last fight, you can see the difference in the speed of the fighters.
Yeah, Bellamy's fast, both fast. Josh getting countered a little bit here. Bellamy looks like he's got some pop on his punches too. It's time to make some adjustments and sometimes with a counter puncher, you kind of have to lay back a little bit and try to get them to be first. And Bellamy's definitely a counter puncher. There's only two ways to beat a counter puncher, and that's to try to get them out of counter punching it or throw a lot of volume. And Josh is more of a skill speed guy than a volume puncher, but I think he'll make some adjustments here shortly and start having a little more success.
Bellonnet fights at a bit of a crouch.
Yeah. And perhaps that's because of Josh being so tall. Maybe he's trying to make himself shorter just to make it a smaller target. Seems to have some power too, and those power punchers tend to want to bend those knees and sit down on their punches a bit more.
Now Prince has switched to left-handed there for a minute.
Yeah.
Still switching to southpaw.
Yeah. Having some success with it too.
When do you decide? Is that something he just made a decision? Now is a good time. I'm not having success orthodox, so.
Yeah, Bellamy's team to make the adjustment. He's starting to touch Josh up a bit as a southpaw. But yeah, I think Josh is experienced enough that he just kind of rifle through the tools in the toolbox a little bit really quick and see which one he has success with. Sometimes you don't stay with something. you give it a little bit of a break and then you go back to it later in the round or the next round. But Josh is making adjustments. Bellamy is too, so we'll see.
Well, Bellamy's quick. It seems that anyway to me that Prince has the reach advantage, but
Yeah.
Bellamy's really fast.
Yeah, Josh could stand with a little more head movement when he's punching. Just, you know, he knows he has the reach and he's popping that long shot, but Bellamy seems to be able to make up that range pretty easy. He's got that good hand speed and he turns his punches over well. So I think Bellamy probably won that first round pretty handily, and Josh started to make some adjustments and started to find success in different areas. So you know, it's definitely not a lost cause. He can still win this fight for sure.
That's what's always intrigued me about the amateur as well. With good coaching, the guy has the ability that he can make those adjustments.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, you don't win the fight in the first round.
No, for sure.
Seconds out, round number 2.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, once you get to a certain level, it's all about the adjustments you make in the round, more so than what the adjustments you make from what your coach is telling you between rounds.
So Prince staying with the left hand.
A little wrestling going on there.
Yeah, you got to tie it up.
And he's going to stay in the southpaw stance. Well, nice to see him move his head after he punched that time. That was good. Made Bellamy miss. Blocked that with the shoulder.
Now, is the clinching rule different in amateur than it is in pro?
You'll get a warning a lot faster in the amateurs than you will in the pros, and you'll get points taken away quicker. And really, it's not that advantageous unless you're hurt, because you don't have a lot of time to make up the points. You know, they're shorter fights. You got to score points while you can. So if you're grabbing and clinching and holding, you're not scoring. Josh looking better this round so far.
He's done a good job tying Bellamy up. Seems to like.
Yeah, and he seems to be scoring a point
Yeah.
before he does it. So you know that's. Bellamy did the grabbing that time, it looked like.
Now Prince.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice right hand. Beautiful.
Prince gone back to the orthodox style, and he didn't land a good right hand.
The referee's going to give him the warning, clean it up a little bit. You know, with these guys, even when you see them get into, you know, a little bit of clinching and grabbing, a little bit of dirty stuff, they won't carry that anger after the fight. They'll be best of friends.
I tell you now,
Hey, geez, you got to get the forearm.
there's not a lot of style in this one.
And that Bellamy, that you can't be sticking the forearm up in a guy's throat like that either. The ref's going to have to take a point away here soon.
Bellamy seems to be grabbing onto
Yeah,
Prince.
he's doing more of the grabbing for sure.
Yeah. That's why it seems he's putting him off balance.
Yeah. I'd say that's Prince's round that time. I think Josh did the better work, and Bellamy got in a little bit too much grabbing and wrestling.
Well, he got the headgear on, so you're not going to bite him.
Yeah. Yeah, the ears are safe.
Yeah, a la Mike Tyson, but and that's another thing. I guess that's that you really can't do anything about. You know about that because you've been around amateur boxing and boxing a lot. But I mean, boxers can have certain skills, and that one can have maybe a little more skill than the other. But I guess the element that you can't control is the official.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the judging and the referee.
And I guess I was leaning more towards the referee.
Yeah. Yeah, some are really quick to take points away, and some are a little more forgiving, but.
And some are in more control.
Yeah. He's taking a point away now.
That's a big point.
That's a big point for sure, yeah. Yeah. That takes that first round from a Bellany round probably to a even. Josh, I'm sure, won the second round, so.
Bellany seems to be really bad with the glove up in the face.
Yeah.
When they're
forearm in the throat,
yeah.
the glove in the face. Looks like he's training with some pros by the look of it, the way he fights, because you see a lot more of that in the pro game than you do the amateur.
Josh
wow.
is.
That takes your legs away in a hurry
Yeah.
too. A guy start wrestling like that. You're trying to keep your balance through all of that. Your legs kind of turn to spaghetti after a while.
Well, especially in the third round.
Yep.
I think I like Prince from the standpoint when that's going on. A guy, he has to keep his poise, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He can't get caught, sucked into the other game. He's got to.
And the referee disqualified him. He could have taken a second point, but he went right to the disqualification.
And I don't think he's too happy about it.
No.
But so why would he have disqualified him? Just too much of the
wrestling and the pushing in the forearms in the face and gloves up in the face. I mean, it was definitely getting close to that. I thought he could have taken another point away before he did that, but again, we both said he could have taken points away earlier in the fight and didn't. So maybe he's making up for that.
Yeah, you can tell.
I think the ref maybe felt he lost control for a little while there and wanted to get it back with the point, taking the point away. And when Bellany kept doing it, didn't seem to faze him that he lost the point. He just kept fighting the same way. So.
Well, at least we know we don't have to worry about there will not be any suspense there.
Nope.
Josh Prince will take this with a disqualification.
You really don't like to see that, but.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 1 minute 41 seconds of round number 3, enter your winner by disqualification from the red corner, Josh
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll come down to the final bout of the night. And it's Matt McDonald from the Tri-Town Boxing Club here on the north side, 155-pound youngster. He's 17 years old, 29 bouts against Matt Ross, who is 16 years old. He's from New Waterford, member of the 2019 Canada Games team. So these are two experienced fighters coming in here, Aubrey.
They sure are, and hopefully there won't be any referee intervening and or having to intervene into the fight. Hopefully the whole thing will be on the merits of the fighters.
They're drawing the even split here tonight.
Yeah.
That goes to amateur boxing as well.
And that's always a good fundraiser at the shows to do the even splits.
Thank you, Haley. That number again is 65, 75, 1, 2, 4. 65, 75, 1.
Well, someone's going home with a few bucks tonight.
For $712.
Nice. Wow.
It's nice split.
That's a nice even split.
Once we get the winner, they'll get the last bout of the night underway, and it's coming to you on Seaside Communications. This event tonight sponsored by Tri-Town Boxing and Seaside Communications. This is Dave LeBlanc along with Aubrey McLeod. Aubrey, while they're trying to find the winner, just to get back to yourself for a minute, you're involved now with pro boxing?
Yeah, I work with L-Jack Promotions promotion company, and I train Brandon L-Jack Brewer. He's actually the owner of the company. I work with the amateurs a little bit. I haven't been at the gym as much in the last little bit as I used to be, but I'll be getting back there real soon. The pro game, we've promoted 3 pro shows in New Brunswick and one in Sydney here. So it's an interesting side of things. I miss the amateur game sometimes, and there, you know, each side of it has its things that you like and things you don't like. Pro game is fun to be a trainer because you sometimes get a couple of months knowing who that opponent's going to be, so you get to develop a fight plan based on who you're boxing. So it's enjoyable because it's the tactics, and it's figuring out ways to take away their tools and ways to win fights. So that's kind of fun as a coach to have that much time to prepare with one fighter.
You were saying earlier, talking about one guy, Rudy Plitchie,
Yeah.
who was, at least here, he's one of the most famous cut men that we know, and worked with a lot of great boxers.
I believe Rudy's 82 years old, and he still does mitts with guys.
Oh, he still looks great. He was at the Sports Heritage Awards dinner last night. I was talking to him. But he's rich in history, and it's guys like Rudy that he can pick his brain all day.
Yeah, and he's more than happy to share his knowledge with people too.
For the red corner, Matt McDonald.
Here comes Matt McDonald in the ring in the red corner. He's 17. He'll be fighting against Matt Ross in the Waterford, who's a 16-year-old. They both have lots of experience. This is the co-main event, second co-main event.
I've seen Matt McDonald fight a few times. He's a very exciting fighter. He throws hard, and he likes to go toe. He just loves to stand in the pocket and go toe to toe. So we'll see how it goes.
It's in the 155-pound classification. 3 rounds of boxing. 3 minutes per round. Now to the participants. Boxing out of the blue corner.
Well, all in all, just before we start this final match, I think the bouts tonight were good. The 2 fun bouts early on were entertaining. Glad to see the youngsters get that experience. And as far as the rest of the bouts of the night, I thought they were all very, very close. There was no layovers.
Yeah, really, they did just an awesome job in the matchmaking. And you can see when you come in and tonight and everything that's happened, very organized show. These guys always put on great shows, so you know, a tribute to them at Tri-Town. They've done great work with their fighters, and they do great work when they're promoting boxing.
One thing I'd be remiss not to point out, I mean, it's great the work that Tri-Town Boxing is doing, putting this event on and getting people a chance to see amateur boxing. But the guys at Seaside Communications still do a lot of work putting these events on and airing them for people to see. I mean, it takes a lot of time, and I think they have to take a certain amount of credit for this and should be congratulated, because it's that, I mean, they're giving Tri-Town Boxing a lot of airtime, and not only Tri-Town Boxing, but all these young boxers.
Yeah.
You know, people get to see them.
Yeah, it's great. The kids get a well done video of the you know, they'll be all be recording this when it's aired. It's so good for the kids. They get to hear people talking about them on TV. Their friends get to see them on TV. It's such a boost to their confidence. It's a great keepsake that they'll have forever. The local cable companies like this coming in and doing these shows, it does so much for the kids and amateur sports in general. So kudos to Seaside.
So Matt McDonald in the red corner, Matt Ross from the Waterford in the blue corner. Two, even though they're only 16 and 17 years old, still very experienced. A lot of fights under their belts.
And these are the guys that, a couple years, 4 or 5 years from now, you might be talking about at the Olympics. So it could be any one of these kids tonight.
Which has always amazed me, but guys that do make it with the box office and everything, you have to go so many bouts just to get there, but
yeah,
that's the nature of it.
Yeah, the Olympic selection process is pretty in-depth. You gotta, there's I think 3 qualification tournaments, and you have to be in the top 5 in 2 of them and medal in the 3rd one, I think, in order to make it to get a slot at the Olympics. So Canada hasn't sent that many fighters over the last few years. The teams have been small. Some years only 1 boxer. Hopefully we're back on an upswing now, and we'll get the bigger teams there back at the Olympics real soon.
I remember when a few guys were, Kyle and Scott McIntosh, when he had to go to the box office a few times.
And Scott, it's a tremendous fighter. He's coaching in Halifax now with Brad Ross. They have a gym together, giving back to the sport. Great to see.
Matt McDonald in the red, Matthew Ross from the Waterford in the blue.
So Matt McDonald seems to be landing some of those wide punches he's throwing, and Ross is trying to throw the straighter punches. Matt McDonald's wide with his punches, but he's not sloppy with them. There's a correct path, and there's an intent there, and he's not just winging for the sake of winging. So definitely some skill behind that. Nice.
Is there a level of efficiency that you want the boxer to have in the ring? Usage of, because when you're punching, you're using energy.
Yeah. It depends on the age, the size of the guys. Like the smaller guys can throw a lot more punches and get away with it. You really try to work a lot of accuracy with the kids when they're learning things like double end bags and stuff like that, so that they're not wasting punches. If you're throwing 20 punches and landing 1, then you're right, that's not very efficient. But sometimes you got to just tip your hat to the other guy's defense too.
We're trying to get back to Carl. It's up for silent option.
So that was pretty even.
That was a pretty even round. I think these guys have fought each other a couple of times. I don't know what the outcomes were, but
Now up to $300, and Parker Sablowski now has that bid. Let's get that higher.
As you mentioned earlier, Aubrey, they don't win them in the first round, so.
No, and every one of these fights, not everyone, but it seemed like a lot of the fights tonight, whoever won the first round didn't necessarily go on to win the fight. And some kids you'll see, when they become adults, sometimes when they turn pro, they might not have had a lot of success as an amateur, but sometimes they're guys that have so much stamina. They may not be necessarily a lot of fast twitch muscle going on, but the stamina is so good that when they start fighting 7, 8, or 8, 10 rounders, they really start to succeed at that level because they have so much more left in the tank later on. These guys definitely quick-handed and decent pop on their punches. So definitely both of them have are fast twitch muscle guys, but
Again, in the blue corner, it's Matt Ross from the Waterford, Matthew McDonald from the Tri-Town Boxing Club in the red. Ross is busy.
Matt McDonald seems to he fights in spots, but they're very, very explosive spots when he's throwing. He's got a lot on the punches, and they're bad intentions for sure.
Both boxers in the center of the ring. This seems to be wide open compared to the last match. There was so much clinching going on.
Yeah, these guys are doing it right. There's a little bit of clinching, but not to the point where there's any real fouls going on there. Nice counter right hand by Matt McDonald. Did the little pull back and threw the right hand over the top. That's a Floyd Mayweather move. That's something he made famous. That can be a dangerous move sometimes, throwing that uppercut as your lead punch, but every now and then you'll catch a guy by surprise with it.
You can't fall asleep in the ring, can you? I mean, you can't get lulled into. You got to be paying attention at all time because, as you mentioned, you could catch a guy with one.
For sure, some nice body work by Matt McDonald there. And in the pros, when you watch on TV, so you know these guys are in 12-round fights, and it can be easy to get a little complacent at times, especially if you go through a period of a minute and a half where not a lot of punches are thrown. The amateurs, these guys, I mean, I don't even like the word amateur boxing because amateur almost implies that they're not as skilled, but you know, some of these guys fighting amateur would beat a lot of very, very good pros out there. So they kind of switched things up years back and started using Olympic style boxing instead of amateur boxing, but it's gone back to the name amateur now. But when you watch it, you see that it's not a bunch of, you know, amateur implies inexperience, but there's some very experienced, good fighters in this.
Well, the thing I like about it, the amateur, besides the safety regulations, is the fact that I think, are most of them 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you've got to do a lot of work in 3 rounds.
Yep.
I mean, there's no time wasted.
Yeah, it's condensed for sure. Yep.
I mean, you know, the pros, they drag a guy on for 5 rounds, right?
Don't forget your passports at ringside. Boxers and coaches, don't forget the passports at ringside.
Well, we're down to the final round of this one, final round of the night. At this point, it seems to me it's anybody's boxing match between McDonald and Ross.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very close fight. Very close fight. Ross may have won the first round. I thought McDonald won the second round, but they were both so close it could have gone either way, either round.
This is the final round of Fight Night number 5. Here at the Emira Center North Side, Dave LeBlanc along with Aubrey McLeod.
Both guys know it's too close too. They're letting their hands go here in the third.
That's probably the most entertaining. I find it very entertaining. You got the final round. Both are giving everything they've got. They don't know what they know it's close, right? So
yeah. There's a lot of mental barriers to get over, even in a 3-round fight. I mean, if it's a really tough fight or you're inexperienced and you're not breathing well, you get to a point where your body's starting to tell you, man, I don't want to do this. It can be a real mental challenge, and these kids learn to overcome that in the gym, and their coaches teach them that night after night. They'll make them do a few extra rounds sometimes. And you know, a thing I always had with guys in the gym with me was the first time they come to me and say, okay, I've had enough, I'm done, I make them do another round. And it's not to be rotten to them, but it's to help boost their confidence, to let them know that, you know, they get into that space in their mind where they feel like, oh my God, there's nothing else I want to do but go sit down. And they need to be able to overcome that, because when you're in a fight, 3 rounds of sparring is way easier than 3 rounds of fighting. And I used to tell guys if they could fight 5 hard 3-minute rounds, they were ready to fight 3 hard 2-minute rounds.
With the old saying, it's like fighting a gorilla. You don't quit when you're tired, you quit when the gorilla's tired.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming down to the end of it, this has been an entertaining bout as well.
Just back and forth. Neither guy seems to be afraid to take a shot to give a shot either, so. A little bit of hold in the arm. Close fight, what a war.
They're just slugging now. Well, I wouldn't want to be the judges in this one. It's going to be a close fight. Look at it. They're trading them now.
I think Matt McDonald might have just pulled it out with that couple of big right hands he just landed. Of course, he's eating some now. What a fight. What a great fight.
That's probably the best part when the guys are just giving everything they got and they give themselves a little hug at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's good sportsmanship, eh?
Absolutely. And it's nice when when the main event's one of the best fights of the night. It can be disappointing sometimes when the main event turns into a dud, but this was an exciting fight.
But you don't see that too often in amateur, do you? The fact that the feature bout is usually a pretty good scrap.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. I think if I had to pick a winner, and it'd be very close, but I think Matt McDonald might have done enough to get it. He was pretty strong there at the end of that 3rd round, landed some good shots, and he seemed to finish most rounds pretty strong. So close fight though. Both guys just fought very, very well.
Well, we're going to find out momentarily as Blake Findlay heads into the ring. Again, this was an outstanding card tonight. Congratulations to all the guys involved, the Tri-Town Boxing Club, Seaside Communications, and all the clubs that were here to represent it tonight, no matter where they're from. The Albion Club in New Glasgow, New Brunswick, Quebec, the Tri-Town Boxing Club, Ring 73, Dartmouth, Escazone, member 2. I don't think I forgot anyone.
I think you got them all, yeah. They show a lot of class, these kids. The sportsmanship at the end of each bout. It's such an important lesson for young men and young women to get through sport, is that not holding a grudge and that sportsmanship is so important.
Yeah.
And before we announce our winner for this bout, great job, gentlemen. Give them both some hometown pride.
Crowd showing their appreciation for both fighters, and deservedly so.
Once again, we go to the judges' scorecards. Enter your winner by unanimous decision. From the red corner,
I thought Matt did enough to win, but yeah, it was a good fight. Matthew Ross got nothing to hang his head about. He fought a great fight too.
Well, it was a nice gesture at the end too. Both should be very, very proud. It was a great bout to end it off. Well, Aubrey, it was great to work with you.
It was awesome
to meet you.
Great
All
to
the
meet you,
best.
Dave. Great working with you too.
Good luck with your future endeavors in boxing.
They said they asked me to do color and said I wouldn't. The guy doing it might not know much about boxing, but you proved them wrong.
Well, listen, thank you once again. This is Dave LeBlanc along with Aubrey McLeod saying good night from the Americenter North Side and Fight Night number 5.